If you say you have to prove things empirically, you cannot prove empirically that you have to prove things empirically. It contradicts itself. If quantum physics shows anything, it shows that we're kind of back to square one in terms of what the ultimate nature of reality is, that consciousness is causal. So the notion that materialism explains everything, that's like 19th century. Or at best, I mean, maybe 1920s or something. Even the ideological positivism, you know, the Wien Kreis, the Vienna Circle, the idea that you have to prove things empirically. Atheistic philosophy, I don't mean pious theologians, atheistic academic philosophy rejected that as absurd 80 years ago. So if you think it makes sense to push materialism, in terms of academic, even atheistic philosophy, you're 80 years behind. You're like in the wrong century. And the reason philosophers reject it is because it's so ridiculously self-contradictory. If you say you have to prove things empirically, you cannot prove empirically that you have to prove things empirically. It contradicts itself. It's just it's just babbling, really. It's just your faith. If you say there's nothing real except matter, okay, it's a free country, but you just told us your religious belief. That's your religious belief. Because I mean, take math. If you say 2 and 2 is 4, or if you say, let's say 2 and 2 are not 5, in both cases, you're making a math claim. To affirm or deny a claim keeps you in the same realm of discourse. If you say x plus y equals z, that's algebra. If you say x plus y doesn't equal z, that's algebra. So if you deny the soul, if you deny God, you're preaching religion. It's just a negative religion. And it takes exactly, I mean, how do you know that? If there's no God, there's no omniscient being. If there's no omniscient being, no one knows if God exists. So if you say there's no soul, how do you know that? How do you know that? How do you prove that? You can't. It's absurd. The very question is absurd. So that's my point. When you say everything is physical, you are simply preaching your religion. You're not doing science. You're not even doing philosophy, actually. I mean, to be technical, you're just preaching. And so science has been contaminated by philosophical materialism. And there's a huge revolt going on. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of scientists, philosophers, you know, they're revolting against it because it's absurd. Most of the greatest scientists in history, by the way, were religious. And they, you know, then at a certain point, it shifted. But so that's someone's religion, that there's no soul. Everything's material. That's just a religious belief.